Hello, everyone. Welcome to Movie Review. Today we're doing a TV review, movie day movie review. I don't know. We got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. I'm Tremain, Hayhoe, special guest, Matthew Rocca, the filmmaker, film instructor, extraordinaire, master, incoming, maybe not a master of cinema quite yet, neither am I, but we're both working, becoming masters of cinema. And all around, we are master fans of cinema, movie buffs, and today, TV buffs, because Dexter is back. Yes. After the 10-year hiatus, or how long? It's been about 10 years.
It was 2013 when it
ended. Eight
so
years.
8 years in real time, 10 years in Dexterland, right? Like on the calendar, almost 10 years now.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay. Yeah. So welcome, Matt. How are we doing? How are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me on here, Tremain. It's always so much fun to geek out with you and to dive deep and to dissect.
I see what you yeah, no, totally. Like this was I watched it last Sunday, I believe, or Saturday or Sunday. When did it come out?
Sunday. It came out.
It came out on Sunday. Okay, no, yeah. So I watched it. Yeah, I watched it on Sunday that night. That night it came out, and I was absolutely blown away by it. Like blown away. I mean, I guess spoiler alert, I was blown away by it. So it's like the review. I mean, we're here to just talk about it, but I was so happy because for you as you actually introduced me to Dexter, right? Because you kept telling me how great the show was, right?
In college, right?
Since college, yeah. Like Dexter, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's great. And like with me and for me and TV shows in general, it's like, especially if I was already like 5 seasons behind at that point,
right?
Or however many seasons it was, like it's always this daunting task and time suck and all those things and. But then earlier last year, I think I binge watched like all of it and loved every second of it. And I probably need to do another. I rewatched a few others, but yeah, I mean, a huge fan of the show, but absolutely blown away by this latest one. And it's like, and it was such a refresher because honestly, I first watched the movie Dune. Have you seen Dune yet?
Oh no, I've been meaning to go see it. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I won't say anything because you haven't seen it. But like, well, at least
go ahead.
Okay. I was highly disappointed by Dune.
Yeah.
Highly disappointed.
Yeah.
And I might be in the very small percentage because everyone I hear, oh my gosh, it's so great, it's so awesome. I was very disappointed in Dune, and it was something where my expectations were really high because I like Dan Villeneuve, Denis Villeneuve, the director who Blade Runner 2049 is one of my favorite movies. I thought he did an excellent job with that. You've seen Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
Love that film. And then The Arrival is a really good film.
But that's great.
Yeah, dude. But Dune. We're not here to talk about Dune, but like anyway, but this is leading up to Dexter. Like Dune, I watched and I was like, I was bored to tears. I mean, it's shot visually. I was bored to tears.
Yeah,
it's the most pretentious garbage. I thought it was pretentious garbage. I'm just saying that right now. Dune is pretentious garbage. But anyway, so going back to that, I was like so disappointed, and I was like, okay, Dexter's coming out. I've been stoked about this. I hope I'm not let down now, right?
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I was absolutely blown away. Like, and it was not pretentious garbage at all. It was so well done, absolutely well done. And how did you feel as like, because you've been a Dexter fan a lot longer than I have. What if you're?
Are we like full spoiler alert warning? Like, are we?
Yeah. What do you think? It's up to you. We could wait to spoil stuff,
we could wait.
Or you mean spoiler as in like, let's assume that everyone that has seen this latest episode at least has. Let's assume people have seen it, especially if they're huge Dexter fans. They've seen it. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, just go watch it. Or if you want to know, I mean, then come back and listen about it or talk about it. But
because that kind of the spoiler aspect of it, kind of, I guess I'll just say, okay, spoiler warning to what I'm going to say, right? Like if you haven't seen it, maybe come back and watch it because it's incredible. But I'll just say, I was so, like you said, I was so blown away by it. And there's so much writing on it. It's like, as a massive fan, and it almost feels like you're coming and seeing, like an old friend that you haven't seen. And so
I've heard of people say that. I've seen
like,
a couple of reviews and they say that,
it does. It has that feeling of, and you're just like, there's that anticipation, because you have gotten to know this character and his world. And so I was so excited, and I had confidence going into it that it was going to blow me away, especially because it was the original showrunners from the first 4 seasons, which I consider like the golden age of the show. So it was like when those people were involved with the writing and the directing and everything else, it was like, oh my gosh, yes, I don't think it's going to disappoint me. But there's always just that little bit of like, oh, I you're hoping and praying it's going to be great. And
yeah, because you never know, even if it is the same people, put together, like, maybe they've, like Tarantino always says, like, oh, it's a young man's game, filmmaking, which I agree and I disagree with him on that. I feel like, like look at Clint Eastwood, he's still putting out great stuff. I'm not, Scorsese's like borderline for me. I'm sorry. After The Irishman, I was like, it's some of the best work, but some of his worst work. We've talked about that before, but we can go on another tangent about that. But you never know. Like, and you want to keep your hopes up. But I liked how they really, from what I saw, they didn't really, they teased it. They didn't really show a ton of it. They didn't really show a ton. But like, oh my gosh, like the tone of it, like the visuals, the characters, the callbacks, the whole setting. So let's summarize it. So how would you summarize the beginning of setting the tone of this new season?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's where I go into automatically I start to venture into spoiler, because the tone, what was so brilliant to me about what we saw here with New Blood was how they established this very, very, very different tone at the very beginning when we see Dexter and he's running through the woods and he's chasing after the white buck and we're tracking and following him. There's no narration, and that would normally be the Dexter voiceover and he'd be tracking a serial killer, right? But instead he's following this majestic animal. And when he gets there, you don't know what he's going to do. And I was, hoping he wasn't going to kill it, because I was like, it's so beautiful. And he didn't, and he pulled back, and there's still the no narration. So there's no narration, there's no killing, right? And that sets
the tone.
Yeah, that sets the tone. No narration, no killing. And is sustained throughout the whole thing. And Michael C. Hall is such a brilliant actor that you get what he's feeling, but you don't have the narration. So there's that emptiness, like when like going all the way back to the pilot episode of the original series, when he's like, just like me, empty inside, it's like that's what it is, right? It's like there's that emptiness of his character. And when he finally does get to that moment and the narration kicks back in,
right? Yeah. So
then you're back in Dexter, and it's like the way that was built up was so brilliant, because you don't know where it's going. And then it gets there.
Right. Yeah. So it's been 10 years. Dexter is in a new town with a new name, Jim, right? Jim
Lindsay, as a reference to the author.
Right. Yeah. As reference to the author. And he's living a normal life. He works at a sporting goods store. He as a clerk at a sporting goods store. He lives in a small town. He has a girlfriend who is also a cop, played by the girl. I don't know her name, but she was really good in Goliath. You ever see
Love
Goliath?
that show. I love that show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that show is really awesome too. I love that. Aside from season 2 of Goliath, everything else was really good.
Well, I need to
felt
catch up. I haven't seen season 3, so I need to.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Yeah.
Season 3 is brilliant, and then season 4 is really good too.
Oh, I got some catching up to do.
Yeah. I think they just had season 4, was it, or was it 5? Like the 5th and final season. I don't know. I forget. Whatever that latest one is it's really good. So anyway, it's all good. But yeah, back to this. I mean, the setting, like the small town, everyone loves him. You know, he's a man of the town. He's the charming guy. He's, you know, the neighborhood friendly Dexter, but his name's Jim. And following him around and seeing his day-to-day normal life, you know, but then things happen when a certain character comes in that kind of helps him come back to his own way. So let's talk about this character that comes in. Conflict pursues.
I kind of loved and hated that his name was Matt.
Oh yeah. That's funny, man. Yes. Well, I mean, there must be kind of a decent, Matt's a decently common name, let's say.
At least it wasn't Matthew.
Yeah, that's true. Matthew. Do you typically go by Matthew or Matt?
I typically go by Matthew, but a lot of friends just call me Matt anyway, and it's all good.
Yeah, that's true. I think, do I call you Matt or Matthew?
I think you mix it up.
Yeah, I mix it up, Matthew, Matt. Yeah, so so this character, Matt, comes into play, and he's automatically he's kind of a dick. He's kind of a jerk, right?
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, and he's kind of how would you describe this Matt character?
Well, I think his character is really just a perfect kind of catalyst of, his character is a plot device, but not a poorly done plot device, if that makes sense. That's how I viewed it. It's like his character is obviously a plot device to bring back the old Dexter Morgan, and you kind of know that at the beginning, but like that doesn't stop it from being suspenseful or being intriguing, because like there's enough ambiguity built into the character, as much of a dick as he is and as much of an asshole, and you just can't stand the guy. Like, it's not as though he's a quote unquote like serial killer, and he did the boating thing and he killed these 5 people, and it's horrible what he did, but it's not like he's like Trinity, it's not like he's like a serial killer guy, right? So there's enough just wiggle room of like okay, you really want to see Dexter kill him at any second, but there's that part of you that's rooting for that, and there's the other part of you that's like, but is he going to meet the code or not, or is Dexter going to walk away from this? And there's enough of that wiggle room that when that moment does hit, it's like you get exactly why Dexter did that, and you can't help but stand up and cheer. You're like, finally that prick is on the table, but
right. Yeah, you kind of, but yeah, that's like going, I mean, yeah, that is, so describe, like, because kind of a lot happens between all of that, right? Like so we have the intro, we have the beginning, and we see that he's kind of a changed, he's the changed, reformed Jim. And then what? And then there's other characters that are introduced, right? His girlfriend is one.
Well, the girlfriend thing, that's very interesting, because like it's like, he's dating a cop and he's working there amongst all these weapons, right? And it's almost like, is that a form of like self-punishment, like, is there that he's surrounding himself with like the tools of his trade, so to speak, but he can't use them, until of course we get to the end. It's like, is that like almost like a Christian, not Dexter's not Christian, but what I mean is like, is it almost like, a religious kind of ritual of punishment? He's around this every day and he can't give in.
Well, it's interesting. The way I see it, especially dating a police officer, I see it as that he's keeping his he's keeping his ear to the police. He's keeping his
Yeah.
ear to the table, right? So
Yeah.
if you're like if you're sleeping with a girl who's in the police department, you're
Yeah.
going to naturally probably hear some stories that,
Yeah.
what happened around town, especially in a small town, though, you hear about things that happen, hear about that stuff. So
Yeah.
I kind of see it as a way that he's making sure that they don't catch on to him, because if and when they ever do, he'll know, right? And he'll be able to
Yes.
ditch town and
Yes, there, you're right. Yeah, it's like there will be that pillow talk, or even just like when everybody at the station seems to know him, like they're all like, "Oh, hey, Jim," and they're just talking freely around him about these crimes, and he's overhearing this stuff. But interestingly, he keeps like trying to change the subject, to like the really minuscule crimes that are happening in town. Like he on one part of him, he wants to hear about the really bad stuff, and the other part of him is like, no, I can't
right, because I'm sure, like being
Yeah.
someone that escaped after 10 years, if anything ever happens, if they because who knows, I don't know later in the season if someone from Miami is going to come back, but actually, I mean, there is one ultimate spoiler, which we'll get to the very end of that. They have a new character that comes back at the end. We'll get to him in a minute. We don't spoil it completely everything too soon. But like, I feel that also. So is this a limited like one new season and done type thing?
Well, they've asked Michael C. Hall, and he said to give away that answer would be to spoil the ending, is what he said. So we don't know. Like,
okay,
it's
me
really...
that sounds like a yes, to be honest. But I hope not. You know what I mean? Yeah. I hope not. But I feel like if he's back, But the thing is, though, it seems like a tone with a lot of Dexter fans is they say, oh, we're finally like righting the wrongs that happened at this, season finale. Right. And to me, look, like I was actually in the very small percentage of I liked it. I didn't like the fact that Deb dies at the end. I thought that was that sucked. I thought at least maybe she could live, and then but she was going off the deep end at the end. You know what I mean? She was going off the deep end towards the end. She was really like kind of really messed up. She didn't really,
totally.
Yeah. So, and then like for him to be dead and the sister to be dead, it's almost like, okay, that kind of ties up all loose ends, right? Like if they were to think, because if the ship wrecks or, disappeared in the storm and they can't find the body, they assume that he's dead. And all the loose ends, like he gets away with it essentially. I think people saw him at the end, like with the fake beard. I mean, the fake beard at the end, we've talked about this before. That was like the dumbest part about the ending or whatever. But like, but I liked that. It's like, it is, he would go hide away in the woods, in a woods town.
I agree. I think it was like, I think that a lot of people, it's known as like one of the most hated, like, series finales and all this stuff, but I think that's kind of hyperbole, like, I mean, in terms of the quality of the episode itself and like where it left him, I think is actually pretty cool and interesting. And I get, of course, like, it left me with a sour taste and it made me sad and like it made me feel like, oh man, like that's really it. Like, I want to find out more, but that was the intention, right? It's like we're you're so used to television formula and how it's going to end, and they're like, oh no, we're not going to tie it up in a neat little bow for you. Like, now what do you guys think is going to happen to him? So I think that was pretty cool and pretty bold and interesting. I think actually the series finale, I think from the original show, would have probably been received better if like season 8 as a whole had kind of lived up to more of what had happened in season 7 in terms of like the quality of the writing and stuff, because I feel like the quality of the writing in season 7 was like really good for the most part, and we were kind of getting to this really intense, exciting conclusion. And then it felt kind of like the beginning of season 8. They didn't quite know where to take it. And then we got to that finale. And I think it was just that combination where people didn't know how to feel. But I think if they rode the momentum from season 7 and really ramped it up and then got to where we got at the end, I think it would have been received a little bit differently, you know?
Yeah, you know, it is. And like, I just wonder how much of people, like when a series ends and it's something that's so beloved by fans,
Yeah.
how much of that is really just them kind of expressing their anger that the show's over, you know?
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like how much of that is actually just that. And because people can just be mad, and think that it's crappy, but in reality, they're just pissed that they're not going to see another episode, right?
Totally, yeah. Well, and it makes you wonder, like, we've talked about, I think, but it's worth repeating on here because of the topic, like the original, like what the ending, what Clyde Phillips was thinking for the ending, right? Like the original showrunner and what he originally had in mind. It's one of those hindsight things, I think, where everyone looks at what he said and they're like, oh yeah, that would have been so much better. But I wonder, would they have felt that way, or would they have been equally upset? Because the original ending was, we're seeing all of the serial killers that Dexter has killed, you know, Trinity, Ice Truck Killer, everybody, and we're seeing it from his point of view. And then we reveal that they're all staring back at him, you know, as he's in the electric chair, that he's been caught. And
That's right.
you know, and it ends on the very tragic kind of note. And it's like, oh, that's why he's been narrating the story to us. So I think that that's such a cool concept and it really interesting, and it wraps it up. It gives it much more of a conclusion. And at the same time, though, I wonder if the same fans who were upset about how inconclusively it ended in season 8 would have been equally upset because they're like, oh no, Dexter died, you know? So I don't know, like it's
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, totally. Yeah, well, that is the thing. Like to me though, I felt it ended pretty conclusively, the ending. I mean, like it left it up that, you know, he lives in the woods and he's gonna like start a whole new life, and it's almost like, oh, he gets away with it, right? So it's like, you know, it's kind of like almost happily ever after, you know. So I mean, you know, but that is the thing, is like, especially with a series, is that there's no real ending, you know. I mean, you can end it. I mean, you would need like a nuclear bomb to go off in the whole town. You know what I mean? Like you'd have to have like nothing, like none of the characters, because you could still follow some of these other characters and things still happen, you know. But I think.
Oh, sorry. No.
Oh, sorry. I guess the only way to conclusively end it would be to kill him. But like you said, like even if you did, like they could say, oh, you know, if they don't even show him actually dying, oh, did he actually die? Was this a vision? You know, there'd be all these speculations, you know what I mean? So
yes.
There's no real right or wrong answer. I feel like but I think the last episode of Breaking Bad was probably the most like tied up bow type, you know.
Well, probably one of the best like series finales, right? In terms of like that, you know, Walter definitively dies. There's a conclusive arc to his character, and we get both the tragedy of it, and yet at the same time there's a little bit of redemption, you know, like for his character. So like that's a great example of, you know, how they're able to kind of wrap it up. But yeah, I agree. It's like, I think that the end of Dexter, it's kind of cool because you still, you know, he's out there and you can still kind of envision what is that character up to, and you kind of tell your own story, which is interesting. And I'm wondering for you, if New Blood, if where we see where he's at now psychologically at the beginning of this new series, if that changed your interpretation all these years of like what he's been up to. Because to me, the ending of season 8, the way I originally interpreted it, and now it's totally changed based on what we've seen in New Blood. The original kind of idea I had was like, maybe now, the end of season 8, you know, at the end of the series, maybe now he's nothing but the dark passenger. Like maybe he's just an insatiable, you know, killer for, and he has no human connection because he's afraid of having human connection, and he's just completely, destroyed that part of himself, and like he'll just keep on killing all by his lonesome, all in isolation. And so that was kind of originally how I interpreted maybe what would happen to him. And now like New Blood is like, oh no, it's the opposite. It's like he's gotten rid of the dark passenger for 10 years and now it's back. So
that's really interesting. Yeah, that is really interesting. That would be I mean, the character probably better than I do, but I guess for me, I was thinking like, yeah, he's out in the woods. I was thinking either he's out, how it is. Not obviously I couldn't envision exactly how it is now, but I was like, okay, now he's out in a small town in the middle of nowhere. Either he's going to be a recluse in the cabin, just doing that, just self-sustaining in a random cabin, like, till the rest of his days. And maybe like hunting and fishing or something like that. Or just starting a whole new life in a new small town. And that's kind of how it was. Right. So that's what I felt. And so that's why I felt, it seemed like he essentially got away with it. Right. It seems like he got away with it. But the, but then like, and I mean, the thing is, in New Blood, we know that he's going to come back to his old ways. We know he's going to do that. Yes. We know that he's going to have the reason, but right.
Time bomb under the table.
yeah, completely. Yeah. And so, but it isn't until we see this character who like the character of Matt, who has the rich, he has the rich dad. Right. And let's just talk more about this character of who that character is. Matt and the boating
childhood. Okay.
Oh, by the way, you left me an amazing voice message.
You play clips at the end of the episode.
We can, yeah, or we can play them right now, or do you want to play them right now, or right now, or at the end?
I'm always down to hear my own work. Either way,
you are. Wow, that's really interesting. Okay. Okay, let's hear it. Let's find Matthew. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Let's hear it. Are you sure I'm on speaker?
It's been a long time. But if we're going to do this, I have to do it right. First rule of the code: don't get caught.
That's first rule of the code. We're gonna keep going.
Don't bother struggling. You're not going to get out. I may not be an Eagle Scout, but I know my knots. What the fuck, man? What the fuck, dude? This is about that deer. She was perfect. She didn't deserve to die. But as bad as that was, you've done worse. You're fucking crazy, dude. Arguable, but beside the point. Tell me what you did. Own it. And if I don't, then I'll fucking kill you. What, you're gonna just fucking execute me or some shit? It wouldn't be the first time. Think you'll fucking get away with that? Again, wouldn't be the first time. But you a fucking serial killer? I was. Oh, who are we kidding? I am. This is about the boat, right? Yeah, the part where you killed 5 people. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Okay? I was wrong. You shot my deer, and you almost shot me. I won't do it again. I won't do anything like that again. I promise the same thing, and look where we are. Well, no, wait. It's not my fault. I had a shitty childhood, okay? My mom died when I was 8, and my dad was never around. You're blaming this on bad parenting. Yeah, it wasn't my fault. I had no compass. I had nothing. I would have had nothing too if it wasn't for Harry. Who's Harry? He adopted me. So you understand? You can't kill me. You won't kill me, right? You know what? Fuck you, man. My dad is going to rain down hell on you when he finds out what you did. He is going to destroy you. Like you said, life is short, dude. Tonight's the night. Hello, Dexter Morgan.
Well done.
Thank you.
Good job. So that wasn't recordings from the show, everyone. This is this guy.
I had been waiting for a fellow fan such as yourself who would truly appreciate it, who had watched it, and like no one else. It was me and my mom, and like no one else of my friends who were fans had not seen it yet, and I was just waiting. And then when you told me you saw it, I was like, okay, I can finally perform.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, no, well done. I mean, that was like, obviously that was the scene towards the very end, where he has him back on the table. He has the son of the bed. So the boating accident, let's refresh everyone that what happens at the boating accident. What did the son do? What was the circumstances?
Well, there was that friend, Dick Face, as he calls himself,
Yeah.
who's like, on the boat with him. And then apparently Matt, probably on drugs or drunk or something, was like very upset at like the other guy in the boat. And the guy was like a competitor or something. There was some sort of animosity with the two of them, and and he was playing chicken with him, right? And then Matt kept going, and the guy yielded, like, okay, enough, and like I'm out. And Matt just kept going and crashed right into him and killed him and the 5 passengers, right? So like that was his getting away with the crime kind of classic staple of Dexter. But it was interesting because it was like, it wasn't the typical like, oh, he went out and like, as a serial killer, murdered.
Right.
I mean, but it kind of took me back to remember in season 1 the drunk driver guy who like kept going out. He was driving drunk and he kept doing it over and over and killing innocent people by being a drunk driver, and Dexter like killed him, and the guy's like, I'm sorry, I won't do it again, like I'm so sorry, and Dexter's like, you've done this too many times to be sorry. And he's just like
right. Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of that, where it wasn't like a serial killer, but
yeah, it wasn't really intentional,
really
but it was still like kind of a heat in the moment type thing that was an accident, but not really an accident, but it was. Yeah. So
and like he probably would have gone out and like harmed more people in some capacity, in some
other way, or just by being a dick, just being himself, like it would just be, he would just be not pleasant to people. So there's a few other characters so there's the character of the boss, right? He's got his boss, right? Which is really
and
the cake, it was a cake, right? He has the cake.
Yeah, the you mean it like the donuts?
The donuts.
It's like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that
it's the little swivel chair moment when he brings it's like the classic, like bringing the donuts, bringing the cake, like old times, and he does the little he's in like the little swivel chair and just like swivels around, like in the first episode when he's like, after he gives them the donuts and he's looking at his like spatter work and he's swiveling around the chair right before Dokes comes in and is like, hey, you weird motherfucker, like
oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's
it's like
right.
a callback to that.
Oh wow, that's the shows the difference between the level of fandom as Matt. I think I might need to to freshen up on that. But you know, it's interesting though, because it's like dude, they really like step their game up, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like if it's, even if it was shot very similarly, you know, as the first, you know, 4 seasons, if the writing was similar, I mean, that's really all we could ask for, right?
Yeah.
But
Totally.
they did that like times 10. I mean,
Yes.
the movie, it's like just it's film quality, you know.
It
It's
is.
complete film quality, shot brilliant, shot beautifully.
Yeah. It felt like going to like that very first shot as he's chasing the buck and everything. It's like, it felt like you were in a movie theater. Like it really, I was like, oh my gosh, like cinematography is so beautiful, and the music and just the direction. There was just such a tight direction. There was such a very specific, you know, intention to the direction. And there was no like, you know, as many times as I rewatch the show, and there's so many like funny, like kind of moments with, you know, like the subplots and stuff, and you know, with Angel and Masuka and all the different characters that are so fun to watch. But there was like, you know, when I'm rewatching, it's like those are the parts that are like really funny, but like sometimes I'll fast forward and just get to like the meat of the what's going on with Dexter.
Oh,
And
right. Yeah. I forgot them. Yeah,
But-
the angel things, I would fast forward those. So I was like, all right, this is like, okay,
I love
really,
Angel. Don't get
the
me
stupid
wrong.
love story. Yeah, I love Angel.
Yeah, but the
love
story, all that.
I didn't care about that.
This felt like no, man. Like there's no time for that shit. You know what I mean? Like it just felt like no, like we're not.
Yeah, there's no filler. There's no like side something that doesn't have any real importance to anything, you know, because that side plot didn't have anything to really do with anything. But or they could have done it in a way that wasn't so like, without giving so much attention to it, I guess. I don't know, but
Too many
that's
scenes
fine.
dedicated to it. Yeah.
But still, like, you know, yeah, this is very, I was blown away. I'm like, man, this is really, it's very, very well thought out, like all, like on all ends, super well thought out, super well planned, well executed. Man, they're coming flying out of the gate, you know. So, you know,
Right away from the beginning. Yeah.
And so there's gonna be what, at least 8 episodes?
I think it's like 10.
Or is it 10? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Wow.
And I'm really interested to see like, you know, these hints and callbacks. I like that they're like Deb, for example, right? Like let's talk about Deb. Like the fact that Deb is the Harry.
Yes.
Not, you know?
Yes,
like, it's
right.
not the same retread of that same thing. It's very different, and it's very haunting and sad and beautiful. Like, what did you think of that whole thing?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so he comes back and we see Deb, and it's like for a split second, I'm like, oh, did Deb survive? But I'm like, oh wait, no, never mind. No, this was like Harry, and it was like he's the substitute, because Harry's character kind of had he had a finishing, right? Didn't he say, like, didn't Harry at some point? Did Harry?
You don't need me anymore. Like,
right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
Harry had an ending, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of it's another way of his consciousness that's still there, or subconscious, or whatever he has in his mind. And he would obviously as freshly as you would have Harry in there, he would have Deb now, you know.
Yeah.
So that's like that as a replacement. And then also I think because I was also thinking like, okay, well, is Harry going to come back too if he's still having these illusions? But it wouldn't make sense for him to come back. It would make more sense to have Deb there.
Yeah.
And Deb as she was before she kind of went off the deep end, before she went off the rails.
Yes.
Right. Like,
yes, exactly. Like, well, and also because their message is so different to him, you know, like Harry's message was like, you are, you know, not normal. Like you are the dark passenger, you know, like, don't let these people complicate your life. It's all a facade, you know, like be true to who you are, and like remember the code, and don't let them complicate your life because they're just camouflage, you know. And that was always like the Harry message, you know, like the code of Harry. And Harry didn't believe he could be like normal, and he was like surprised that he could. And with Deb, it was like, it's like the opposite, right? She's like no, keep being normal, keep marking the calendar. You haven't killed for 10 years. Like you're on track. you're doing fine, you know. And then she's like upset when he does do it. It's like, and then the Deb like mouth comes back to like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, like
yes, the famously Deb potty mouth. Yeah, but she was awesome. I mean, she was one of my favorite characters. She was really funny. Not so much later on because she went off the deep end a bit, but I mean, it's understandable like how she would be, you know, dealing with that trauma of knowing finding out her brother's who he really is, you know.
Yes, totally.
Right, like it'd be hard to be completely normal after that. I think.
Yeah, it's like in a season 2 episode, Dexter says, you know, like, is this what evil is? It spreads like a cancer, you know, to everybody around me, or something like that. And it's like, I don't think, you know, us fans probably, you know, don't think of Dexter as evil, but like he sees himself that way, you know, and like, it's not that he's evil, but the, you know, ramifications of what he does, like it is true that spreads to everybody, you know. And like it definitely corrupted and fucked with Deb, you know. The fact that she had to kill LaGuardia was like that was a mind-blowing kind of moment that just completely changed her character.
Yeah, and that kind of showed the difference between Dexter and Deb, because when Deb had to do it, Deb could do it, but she wasn't able to mentally keep going. Like Dexter can still do it and then just act normal, you know, like be completely normal, right? You know, or at least act normal, that is so funny. That is the thing about Dexter as a character. Like he's so like he's actually very socially awkward, you know. He actually, you know, deep down, but you could see him acting like a normal person, right? And you know that he's putting on this act. And that's what's so cool about this character, is that it's so complex and it's so, you know, like you could see how this guy can be this, you know, kind of charming man about town, you know, towards everyone else, but like he's always just kind of, you know, kind of pretending, you know, he's putting on this act, he's pretending he's not, he can't be completely real with everyone at all times, right?
Yes, it's you know, to crib a phrase from one of my other favorite serial killer shows from Hannibal, it's like a perfectly tailored human suit is what they say in Hannibal. And like that fits really well with Dexter too. And I think that the social awkwardness and the always kind of performingness of his character is, I think that's what some of us, you know, maybe not yourself, but for me, like what some of us can really relate to is.
Oh, I definitely relate to it. I mean, I do. I do definitely. I definitely relate to it. No, big time. Yeah, no, it is like, yeah, I think most people can really relate to it, you know, whether it's like they have to put on a front in the workplace or where, you know, wherever, or at school, or, you know, around certain other people or whatever, right? And yeah, so it's like everyone else, you know, like in the mask, like we all wear masks. It's like, which is true, you know, they say, what is it? It's like, what was that other quote? Was it, who said this quote? You probably know, you probably definitely know who said this quote, but it's like you give a man a mask and they'll show you who they really are. What is that quote?
Oh, yeah. Isn't that like a famous actor quote?
Yeah, I was gonna say like
using
Orson Welles or Shakespeare. I don't know.
Yeah.
George Orwell.
I think it was Orson Welles. I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that's true. It is true. It's the mask, and it's and I think that's where the best seasons of Dexter remember that the narration is there for that reason. Like it's not there to tell us exposition. Like in the first, especially like the first few seasons, the narration is just there, not so much to move the plot along, but to remind us of like his interior monologue and his distance from the people around him, and like his sardonic comments about like how disconnected he is from the world. And that's what, you know, makes us relate to him and or, you know, feel like we're in on the secret with him. I mean, even just like the subtlest little moments that always stick with me. And sometimes I even just think of them in daily life, like when Angel, and I think it's like in season 1, Angel's coming up and talking about like, you and I, we gotta go out. We gotta get some drinks tonight. You ready? You ready, brother? And Dexter's just looking at him, and his narration's like, I wonder what I ever did to make him think we were so close. It's
Right?
like, yes, that's how I feel. Like there's totally people who would just want to come hang out. And I'm just like, cool, but what did I do to make them think we were so close? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. No, that is, dude, that is funny, man. It is that I've been there too, where, and it's like, wait, really? Like, what? Yeah. Like, or like, why? Or like, gosh, or like, that's the last thing I want to do,
Yes.
For some people, like, like over the summer, I was talking to some random guy that was at the bar next to me, and you're just making conversation. He's like, oh yeah, man. He's like, hey, let's go hang out. And like, dude, I talked to you for like 15 minutes or something like that. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, tomorrow, let's go, let's meet up, let's get some chicks, and it's like, do I want to do this, or meet this random guy, so I can go get chicks with him? I don't know. It's just like, it's just right. And, but then like, it was funny because I don't know, but sometimes like I'm like, all right, whatever. Like it was like a Thursday or Friday. So I'm like, yeah, okay. And then he ended up like flaking out. So it was like, all right. So that was fine. That was good. So it worked out. But yeah, it's as random side note, I've been watching this YouTube channel called Mr. Nightmare. Have you heard of that? You probably
the real true scary stories one.
Yeah. Have you heard? Have you watched it? Yeah.
I listened to some of those to go to sleep at night.
Yes, so do I.
So my favorite is the Let's Read podcast. I don't know if you've heard that one, but it's
I haven't.
It's like this
Let's
of
Read.
the same flavor of like true scary stories.
I'll have to write this
Very,
down.
very soothing voice, but really creepy things they're talking about. Like,
yeah. And it is funny because like they are, a lot of them, they're inside their first person narrations, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, so you're in their mind and you're experiencing the whole thing. And I love like the narrative, like it's so effective because just having the sound effects or just having a creepy image, you can do a whole lot with it, with that story. And also there's stuff that is true that you cannot make up in any.
I feel like you can tell some of those ones where you're just like, this is not exaggeration. Like this is the subtlest of details. You're like, that really happened. And
yeah. Oof, yeah. I get like a lot of chills from them, like down my spine, like, but in the best way though, too.
I thought on that note, but we won't give it away on here because you and I we're gonna make this movie. But I'll just say to the fans of our work that there's a certain story Tremain and I are working on, and it's a true story, and it's a true scary story, and we're going to make it into a movie. And for that reason, because I contemplated like, oh, that would be a cool thing to have one of those podcasts narrate, but then I was like, oh no, like we got to wait until we make the movie.
You're right. Yeah. Make the movie first, and then we can do
but it's
that.
perfect for that kind of a story, right? I mean, that's the vibe of it, right? Because it is a true story.
Yeah. Oh, completely. 100%. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, that one. And that is the thing. It's like there are some like funny moments in certain parts of these stories, and in this story, but then there's like all these, building up like creepiness, and also like characters when there's red flags like that are kind of subtle, then they get a lot less subtle as they progress.
Yeah, totally.
Like creepy roommate stories, or like one was like one girl had a best friend of 6 years, real quick, and they were leaving. They like lived together for a summer or something, like, or they lived together. Then they were going to go away for spring break for 2 weeks and then come back later. And then the girl left and then realized she didn't, that she forgot her backpack, which had her laptop in it, right? She'd already been driving home for 30 minutes. She didn't want to go all the way back, but like she wasn't going to be back for another 2 weeks. So,
Oh wow.
so she came back. When she came back, she went in the apartment and the roommate wasn't there, but her laptop was there and it was open and it was next to her laptop. And she found all these other, like the girl like stole her clothes, like had some of her clothes too, like had some of it, had pictures of her.
What?
Yeah, had pictures of her like sleeping, pictures of her in a
Whoa.
towel. Yeah, dude, I know. So stuff like that, where it's like, that is so
Very
creepy.
similar to our real life person.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I know, and
So
that's
creepy.
and that's what's crazy about some people, and especially like, oh, I feel like, roommates, especially someone that you have to live with, right? Like it's just,
Yeah. I'm glad I've never had a roommate except for my brother.
Yeah, that's true.
I've been very, very fortunate in that way. Or I've willed it into being. I was like, I just can't live with other humans.
Only aliens you could live with. Not human. Not human.
Well, actually, it's funny because while we're on that topic, the character in Dexter, the character, to tie it back to what we're talking, the character that reminds me of what we're talking about here, of that sort of real life, sociopath, where it's like a very low level, but it's really chilling and creepy. But it's not like they're out there necessarily killing people, but they're still just like horrible people. Was remember Lewis in like season, the dude who worked and he wanted to do a video game about like serial killers, and Dexter was like, no, that's not a good idea. And then like he tried to steal Dexter's identity and like do all that weird shit, and Dexter's like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you ruining my life? And he's like, you laughed at my game. And Dexter's like, this is about your fucking game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's well, yeah, dude, but that's the thing though, it's like certain characters you don't know, like people get so mad and upset over very small things and have huge explosions. You don't really know these people until you've kind of pushed those buttons in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I've experienced some, I've experienced some pretty turned up things, but don't really want to talk about right now. But yeah, I mean, it's we'll stick to the fiction now with Dexter, but that's the thing about a character like Dexter, where you relate to him in a lot of ways, and also like, yeah, he's bad, but he's actually kind of good too, because he's like, he's essentially like self-imposing the death penalty to these people, which maybe they would already get or not, but yeah, so it's like it's the anti-hero, right?
Yeah.
It's like is he the anti-hero or is he the pro villain, right?
Yes, it's like he's that's probably what makes him such a fascinating character to keep coming back to, all these years later, right? It's like he is, in a way, he is that vigilante, almost like a dark twisted version of like a superhero. And they even kind of explored that in season 2 with the whole Dark Defender thing of like, a tragic origin story and like, taking out the bad guys and someone you can relate to, and you root for them to take out these really terrible people, but at the same time, it's like the method by which he does it is something that would be repulsive in any other circumstance, but it just so happens that the people he's doing it to, you're like, oh, cool. Like that person's not going to hurt anybody else. So there's that weird like disconnect from what you consider like your morals and your values in a normal context, and you have to almost dissociate with that because you're rooting for, to some extent, you're complicit and you're rooting for what he does. And to me, that makes him very different than like a Walter White, where it's like what Walter White, you're rooting for him to a certain extent. But I think for me, it's like at a certain point, you know, and Walter's poisoning children and doing these things. And then you don't root for him anymore. He's become the protagonist has now become the antagonist.
I am the one who knocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does. yeah.
Say my name.
Yeah, say my name. Yeah. So that is a thing where he goes, when he, like, that's why it was such a kind of a perfect ending with Breaking Bad, where he's going so far off the deep end. It's like he can only go completely worse and do more bad stuff, or he can just die, which he's he's gonna die from the beginning anyway. He's like, he has a death sentence from the beginning. But that kind of almost makes me want to rewatch that series. I mean, that's
one of those ones, like, I can rewatch kind of anytime and go back, and there's always new, like Dexter, there's always new details that you get rewatching it, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, your mind.
It's so it's so well done, and the amount of thought that goes into this in a series. I mean, one day I want to work up to making a series. I think that could be pretty cool.
Yeah. Me and my brother have a TV series we've been plotting out for years, and we've always wanted to turn it into something. We now, it might, in the age we live in, it might actually be an era in which we could have that creative control that, like, the runners of Breaking Bad, what's his name, the showrunner, Vince Gilligan. He had that creative control from the beginning and through the end. And that's why me and my brother, we always wanted that, but we thought in television it wasn't really possible, so we just kind of held off. But now I feel like we're in an era where that could be a thing, where the showrunners have the total creative control of the whole story. And I think we're seeing that with Dexter too, with the
and that's the beauty of it being on a network like Showtime, where they have a lot more kind of creative freedom, especially they can, they don't have the limits of TV, because if it was on like ABC or NBC, it wouldn't work,
or like, I still can't get over. Did you ever see the series Hannibal?
No, I didn't. No.
It's absolutely brilliant. You have to see this, and you won't believe they got away with it on NBC of all things.
Really?
It's so ridiculous. Even half of what they did on that show would feel, it's worse than Dexter in terms of like the violence and the gore and the just pure insanity of it. It's even worse than Dexter. It's outrageous. And you're like, this is on NBC? Like, how did they do this? I still don't know. But it's so beautifully shot. It's like every murder and crazy thing that happens is like this kind of beautiful cinematic tableau. It's like a Baroque piece of art. And then it just so happens to also be gratuitously horrific at the same time. And it's that combination that makes it like, oh yeah, that's why it's a show about Hannibal,
Right. Yeah. So that's interesting. So Hannibal is obviously a complete bad guy, right? So is it are there other characters that you're rooting for? Is it centered around him completely?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that show, unlike Dexter, the title character is not at all somebody that you root for, right? Hannibal, from the very beginning of the show, it's not like, oh, you're gonna see, why he becomes a bad guy like Breaking Bad. It's like no. From the very beginning of the show, you're like, oh, he is this guy right in the first episode. But the thing is, he's not caught yet. It's not like in Silence of the Lambs where the world knows what a bad guy he is. So the whole tension of the show is like, we know who he is, and there's almost a wink to the audience about who he is, and what he's up to. But to everyone else, he's this charming, debonair figure that is, people love this guy, but we all know who he is. And the only one we can really sympathize with is the character of Will Graham, who is, in a way, he's kind of like Dexter, because he's like this guy who can see and understand and empathize with serial killers and catch them, because he's the only one with pure empathy for how they envision their crimes and what they're actually going through. So he's able to catch them. But ironically, Hannibal is like, the one person that he doesn't know at the beginning, like what a horrible guy he is, and the two of them have this sort of tragic, beautiful like friendship that even Hannibal kind of loves him in a weird way. So they're like they have this weird friendship throughout the whole thing, even as things get
No
more.
spoilers for that. No spoilers.
No, I won't tell you,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's crazy. It's great. I really recommend it.
Okay.
It's great. And those who, you know, love Dexter, I think would really love the series because it's twisted and darkly funny and just crazy.
Wow. Okay. Good. Awesome. Hannibal. Okay. Another huge TV series for me to binge watch.
That one's only 3
Wait,
seasons. You can get
Oh,
through
only
it.
3. Okay. Okay. Only 3. Okay. You're like, yeah, but they're 50 episodes, an hour long each per season. No. I'll check it out. I'll definitely check it out. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So back to Dexter. So so what would you, I mean, as a huge Dexter fan, would you say how would you say it ranked in terms of your expectations and in terms of what you thought of it, watching it, and what would you rate it?
Oh yeah. Well, it to me it ranked right up there with like, you know, seasons 1 to 4. That golden era of just the writing was so tight and so well structured, and the directing was absolutely beautiful, and the cinematography is probably like the best it's, you know, Dexter has ever looked. It's just incredible. So I would definitely rate it an A+ because it you know, after years of not seeing the show and not seeing the character, and then to come back to that, it did that really interesting thing of where it was able to somehow not just meet the expectation, but like to surpass it. And it didn't do that through like any kind of crazy Trinity kills Rita kind of level twist. You know, it wasn't like anything that happened in this first one was so crazy in terms of like, oh my God, that was so unexpected. Like you kind of expect that he's going to go back to killing someone at some point, you know, like, but it was not so much it was more of like the journey, you know, that made it so interesting. It was like, when is it going to happen? It was again, that Hitchcock thing, the bomb, right? It was like, you know, it's going to happen, when and how exactly. And the way that was played and the moment that we got there, even the fact that he just like, he's so impulsive when he butts him in the head with his gun is so different than like traditional Dexter that you almost wonder, is he actually going to do it? Or is he like, oh shit, like, no, I can't, you know, but then the narration kicks in. And you're like, oh yes. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, man. Dude, I was blown away. I was like rooting, you know, I was like, yes, he's back. I mean, you know, it's going to happen, but I think, yeah, like you said, it's so masterfully done, and all the kind of fan service that it did, like knowing what it is and knowing what, how to deliver expectations. Yeah. I mean, yeah, A+, 10 out of 10 from me as well.
Yeah.
Like far exceed it. Yeah. And I mean, this is, to me, it's like as good as TV can get. I mean, not can get, but I mean, it's some of the best I've ever seen. Like, honestly, it's right up there. Like, it's so blown away. So I'm just hoping if they keep the consistency of this, oh man, like we are in for a treat, my friend. We really
are. And I love that they didn't, it feels like they kind of combined like 2 movies into one with just that first episode alone, because it's like they could have stretched out the whole like will he or won't he thing, and they could have made it more of like you know, a sobering episode where he doesn't do it the whole time and did that. But I was so glad they didn't do that. I was like, no, okay, we're back now, you know, like the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, like we got that, you know, we got what we were looking for. It didn't leave a cliffhanger for next week for it to happen then. You know, I feel like they did it at the right time, because we knew he was going to come back. We knew that, you know, there's only so many episodes that we could see him of just, you know, being at the sporting goods shop and like trying to be a goody good, but you know,
a little problem with blood.
yeah. He's like with the knife. Yeah, with the knife too. And he's like, yeah. That was great.
Also, on that note of him being his facade, to me, one of the finest moments of acting from Michael C. Hall in this episode is the subtlest little thing. It's when when he like clinks glasses with that guy at the bar, and he just has that little like smile on his face and like the eyebrows, and it's just that look of, there's no narration, it's just that, but it's just that look, and it just sums it all up of like, how much longer can I keep
right? Yeah, how much longer can I keep pretending with this bullshit that I don't, what I don't give a shit about? Yeah, that is that's it is Dexter to a T. And I love that. I mean, I love all that. Also, like, just the fact that he has a new identity now, and he's different, and the new cop character.
Oh yeah, my mom brought up an interesting observation about her. I don't know if you thought this. I didn't realize it until she said it, and then I was like, oh, like that's it. My mom said, does she remind you a bit of Deb? And I hadn't really thought of that, but she said like the ears and like kind of her hair, and the fact obviously that she's a cop.
She's a cop as well.
I was like, that's interesting. That's a really interesting, like, I don't know what it means.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is a good. Yeah. Wow. That is an interesting thing, because they say like, they say like, I don't know, I don't know, whoever is like psychologist said, like a lot of women like, men that are like their dads or something like that, or like their brothers, or people that remind him of something familiar, or
Freud really popularized that whole thing with the Oedipal, complex and everything. Like, so yeah, that's really interesting. Like, and there is that weird moment where like Deb is sitting in the bed with Dexter, and she's like, and you haven't killed in 10 years and I love you for it. And it's just oddly tender. Like, it's just it's an interesting moment. Like, it didn't feel like their usual dynamic, it felt they almost felt more like a husband and wife in a weird, which of course we know as fans, the real them were husband and wife.
Yeah, I know. Which, you're right. Yeah, that is another thing. It's like, I wonder what that's like, working with their ex again. You know what I mean? Like, bringing it back years, like, oh yeah, we're adults, we're still friends, but I don't know. I think there's always that. I guess they maintain that level of professionalism, I guess, but
you'd think there'd be that tension or
yeah, something. I mean, yeah, or who knows if it's like if they're professional on set and then like afterwards they're just like, see you later type thing, or I don't know. I mean, I don't really, it's personal lives are personal lives, but I did think about that. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That's his ex but that's what's so weird, is that's like they were husband and wife, but they were playing brother or sister. That is an awkward, weird thing.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I was at I think it was a Comic-Con thing one time, and a fan asked them about that, and I was like, dude, like that's such a personal question. Don't ask. I felt tense in my seat, like having someone ask about such a personal thing to them. And like Jennifer Carpenter started crying, like she just got teary-eyed, and then she was just like, she said it was like such a joy that they're still professionals and great friends, that they can keep working together after all that, and there was like this really tender, but it was such a moment, I was like, oh my gosh, like,
wow. So I wonder if there's still something there.
I know.
You guys heard it here first. Celebrity gossip. Hollywood. TM.
Oh, and speaking of Dexter and wives, have you heard that John Lithgow is going to return?
No. No spoilers. No. Is he really? As it goes?
Okay, so we know that Dexter killed Trinity at the end of season 4. And there's no ambiguity about that. So I'm wondering, will the return be like a flashback from maybe like Harrison's perspective, or will it be like haunting Dexter, like Shakespearean style, like a ghost haunting?
Yeah. So that is the one point we've actually yet to talk about, and then we probably should wrap it up a bit. So who shows up at the very end? Who shows up at the very end of the episode? Harrison, yeah. So Harrison shows up at the very end, and yeah, I mean, so I feel like, one, if Harrison could find him, right, that means anyone can find him, right? That means people are hot in his tail. People are going to learn out that he's alive. how did he find him? Now there's like that raises a whole bunch of other questions. And then also the way the kid's like kind of like this troubled kid is like, does Dexter's son have the same impulses that his dad does?
After he was born in blood too, like, you know, after he was in the pool of Rita's blood.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, those kids would be
remember, you know,
he'd be completely traumatized as a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be horrible. And I'm still upset that Rita died. She's so hot. Anyway, but
yes, remember Masuka? I have visioned her naked plenty of times, but never like this.
Yeah. That is like such a messed up thing. Such an honest thing to say for yeah, it's so twisted, you know, so twisted. I mean, yeah. So what do you think? What is your speculation?
I always feel like that was the one of the really interesting, like, unanswered questions of the original series. You know, that question of like, how much does Harrison remember? How badly did it fuck him up? Like, is the dark passenger within him after what happened? And they hinted at that a lot in like the seasons after, where Dexter would wonder, like, you know, just the little things like, oh, Harrison hit a kid today, you know, or he accidentally cut a kid's cheek, you know, like, is he, you know, or when he says die instead of bye, like, you know, there's all these little hints of like is he this, or, you know, or is this just my imagination? Am I just being paranoid? And they never really answered that question, because in the end, you know, we don't get to see Harrison grow up, so we don't really know. So I've always thought that was a really interesting question, and I would really like to see the exploration of, like, maybe he does struggle with some of these same tendencies, you know, and some of these same thoughts and feelings, and like, how would Dexter, having seen where it's gotten him, like, how would he deal with it? Like, would he want to do the same thing as Harry, or would he be like, oh no, like, you know, Harry taught me how to do this, and look where I ended up. Like, I lost everything. You know, I don't want to teach him this. You know, that would be an interesting tension.
Yeah. So it'll be either Harrison is just a troubled kid that finds his dad and is upset with him, and then Dexter now has to be extra normal and extra secretive and extra, you know. Or he has the same kind of urges and admits to his dad what he's done about certain things, or how he found him. I don't know. There are a lot of questions. And then, is he going to usher him the way? Is there going to be, I just hope it isn't. I don't know. I don't know. I hope it doesn't become just about that. I don't know. I mean, that is a big storyline. And then wasn't there the daughter too, or is it Deb's daughter? Whose daughter? Isn't there another daughter? Isn't there? Because there were two.
You mean the daughter of the cop, the cop who he's dating?
Yes.
My mom speculated maybe, you know, the daughter would like, and Harrison might fall for each other. There might be some sort of a thing there, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of it.
Or wait, no, in earlier, was it the earlier season? Remember the earlier season when they find out Rita died? Wasn't there a boy and a girl?
Oh yeah, that was Rita's kids, Cody and Aster, the brother and the sister.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And that's interesting too, because they kind of just go away in the show, and you're always kind of left like, oh, well, what, you know, I wonder what happened to them. And in the books, you know, I guess spoiler alert for the books, but in the books, like, it's a very different story. And they actually, because of, like, you know, how Rita had that abusive ex-husband, Paul, and he would like beat her up and do all that horrible stuff. Like, in the books, the kids of Rita were so traumatized by that they had a dark passenger, and Dexter was like the Harry to them.
Oh, so, interesting.
Like, yeah,
okay. Wow. Yeah. So that isn't. So I wonder. So if Harrison comes back, are those two going to come back too? We don't know. I think that might be a little bit much, but I mean, you never know, right? You never know
yeah. Well, that raises the question too. Who would, like, okay, on that topic of like people returning and, you know, callbacks to the original series, who would you, who either of the people we know are coming back, or the people you'd like to come back? What would you be most excited to see in terms of the returns or the callbacks or wrapping up characters from the past?
Wow, man, well, not Dokes. Be
Surprise,
sweet. Surprise,
motherfucker.
I know that's not possible.
Maybe in flashback though.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be. I think no, that might be like jumping the shark. I feel like if they go too much back, they get everyone, all these characters back.
Yeah.
I'd have to think about that. I think you probably have a way better answer. What I can think of. Who are you looking forward to seeing back?
I'll give you a hint. Hello, Dexter Morgan. Shut up.
Shit, it's not ringing any bells.
Nobody said they were thankful for me. Are you thankful?
Oh yeah, of course. Well, Trinity, yeah. Okay.
The fact that he's coming back, I just fills me with so much joy because he's just such a great actor. And like, I still consider him, as many fans do, like the best villain of the whole series. And like, so to me, that's so exciting. Like, how we know he's coming back. So it's like, how is that gonna, will it be a flashback? Will we see from Harrison's perspective? Because we never really saw that moment, where Trinity does kill Rita. Like, will we see from his perspective, that moment? Or like, will there be a haunting of some kind or a reckoning? And because I'm really big into Shakespeare, I kind of liken it to like Hamlet, because like Dexter and Trinity, that whole story is very Hamlet, actually. It's like throughout Hamlet, it's like he knows his uncle is evil, but he admires him at the same time. And the whole time it's like, should I kill him? Should I not? Should I kill him? Should I not? And then he like lets it go on too long. And then his uncle kills all these innocent people, which is very Dexter and Trinity, and there's ghosts and all that stuff.
Yeah. And
so it's like,
and even like the Alfred Hitchcock movie, when it was Uncle Charlie, the girl and her uncle.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
creepy.
Yeah, like she looks up to him so much. He's this charming man, and that scene, oh my gosh, is so great when they're at the dinner table, and he talks about like old women. He's like, these old women that do nothing, sit around, and drink all day. They're just rich off their husbands, and
it's
and
such did you ever, side note, did you ever see that movie called Stoker that was based on Uncle Charlie and the Hitchcock?
No, I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah, I gotta check that out. It's really cool, and it's like a modern kind of retelling. It's really weird and creepy, and it was written by Wentworth Miller. The screenplay was written by Wentworth Miller, the dude from Prison Break. And
okay.
What? That's so crazy.
I never saw Prison Break, so
that's got to be on your list.
Oh no, Matt, stop putting.
Start with Hannibal, then.
Okay, wait. Is Stoker a movie?
It's a movie, yeah.
Okay. I might start with Stoker then. I might start with Stoker. I'm like the movies for me. Like I could do. I love movies because like they'll end. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty selective when it comes to like TV shows. I mean, Dexter now it's Dexter, and okay, I do have a soft spot for Survivor on CBS.
Oh, that takes me back. That's like takes me back to the early 2000s, right?
Yeah, man, dude. You know they're still happening. So the new season 41 of Survivor is happening.
41?
Right, yeah. What? Yeah, 41. Dude, so get this. They've been doing 2 seasons a year for the past 20 years.
2 seasons a year?
A year. Yep.
How is that even possible?
I know, it's crazy, but they got it down to a science because now they film it all in one place. They used to be like they used to be in, they went to Australia, they went to Africa, then they went to, but now it's all in Fiji. It's all like this, it's all in the island, and it's really awesome. I mean, the show and the dynamics, and it's all really casting, but I'm trying to find a friend to geek out on Survivor. I don't know many of them.
Maybe I'll hop in there with you.
Okay. That'd be sweet.
I'll check out some Survival. You check out some Hannibal.
Okay. All right.
No, yeah, man, that's awesome. Yeah, because it is really rare to find, TV shows that suck you in like that. And like you said, it's like you don't want to commit the time, and you know, and it's different from a movie, and that's why you know, it's like it's so rare when we have like, you know, like what we have with Dexter, where it's like, you know, the whole story sucked us in, and we had these different experiences, like where I saw the show as it was on, but like I started, I think it was like the show was in like season 3, and I caught up to it because I hadn't seen the first couple seasons. So I like, you know, I had heard about it, and I was like, this sounds like my kind of show, you know, and you know, American Psycho is one of my favorite movies, and so I was like, oh, this is cool, like that inner monologue with the character. And it was back in the day when Blockbuster was still around in Hollywood Video, and I got rented those like DVDs or VHS and just binge watched the first 2 seasons, and then I was like, oh, I'm in, you know. And
Oh yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. Yeah, those days, the days of Blockbuster and Hollywood Video, man. Oh.
dude, there's still, you know, there's still one left
Yeah, the last
in
Blockbuster.
Oregon.
Yeah, you know, that's funny. I watched that movie, the
The
last Blockbuster.
documentary.
Yeah, did you watch it?
I've been meaning to watch that because I'm really, really taken with just the fact that there is one still. I would go out to Oregon just to see that. Like to see
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'd want to go. Yeah, just to see it. You know, I worked at
Okay.
Hollywood Video, right?
You
know
did?
that? Yeah. Did you not know that?
Did
you really?
That's where when did you work there, and which one did you work at?
2008. I worked at the one near my house in Sacramento.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
You did the Tarantino thing. You worked in a video store.
I know. And it's funny because like I always thought that. I'm like, oh yeah, it's kind of like Tarantino. I could always say, oh yeah, I used to work at a video store. But like I knew like once Netflix came out and like, you know, that we had the oldest computers, the computers were from like the early 90s, right? And even this is 2008, which is kind of a long time ago now. But you know, yeah, because I was still in college and I worked at this video store. It was so cool though, because you could rent 3 movies at a time for free. We get new releases 3 days early, you know.
Love that.
So cool, man.
I always kind of felt Hollywood Video had a little better like more versatile selection. As much as I love Blockbuster, I felt like Hollywood Video had more stuff.
They did. Yeah, they did. You know, and it was funny because I applied to both Blockbuster and Hollywood, and Blockbuster completely turned me down. But
really?
turned me down, rejected me. But Hollywood Video is where it was supposed to be. I liked Hollywood Video because it was like Blockbuster was a bit more corporate, I think. You know, Hollywood Video was kind of cool. Like everyone I worked with was really cool. But I became like the movie snob, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why.
Were you doing the Tarantino thing where you'd recommend?
Like, I'm going to recommend this. All right. We're going to do this.
All right.
No, you know, it was funny because
Sam Greer. All right.
You know, all right. Yeah. I learned something my very most, you want to hear the most valuable lesson I learned?
Yes.
Okay. So initially, like when I was working there, I'd recommend people like, oh yeah, what are some of your favorite, what movie should I rent? And like, I think that was about the time when There Will Be Blood came out. So like, I'd recommend like There Will Be Blood. I recommend those types of movies. And they'd come back and they'd be like, I was bored. I didn't like it. It sucks. What's your problem? That was a terrible recommendation. I'm never going to hear a recommendation from you. I mean, they didn't say crazy stuff like that, but they're like, I didn't like it, So what I really learned was I would actually ask them, if they're like, oh, I'm looking for a great comedy, I would say, okay, well, what are some of your favorite comedies? Right.
Yeah.
And if they tell me some bullshit like Anchorman or some bullshit response like that, I'm like, okay, if you like Anchorman, check out Blades of Glory or some other bullshit movie. Like I wouldn't tell them that, but like, check out any stupid shit, bullshit, like dumb bullshit, terrible movies that are like that. But if they like something better, if they like Office Space or they like, old school, then I could really recommend tailor. I basically tailor the recommendations to what they like.
To who they, no, that makes total sense. It's like you were a curator and you could kind of, you could base it off of, like you said, base it off of their taste, which is what Tarantino has said too. It's like, he would recommend movies like what you're saying that weren't necessarily his movies, you know. It would just depend on, like you said, what is their taste, what are they looking for, and then you could kind of be that helpful guide for them, you know, and go from there. Although I think it would have been really funny if they said they liked Anchorman and you recommended their whole people.
thing is, I wouldn't do that because I'm like these idiots aren't smart enough to
to get why that's funny.
Yeah. They wouldn't. Dude,
I think There Will Be Blood is funnier than Anchorman.
Oh, I 100%, dude. Paint drying on a wall is funnier than Anchorman.
You think your song and dance would save you, Eli? I'm third revelation.
I drink your milkshake. I have a straw and I bring it down very far. And it goes down and it sucks up the oil.
The Lord sometimes challenges us, doesn't he, Eli?
Yes, he does, Daniel. Yes, he does. You know what? I've actually snuck that scene into my curriculum.
Have you really? Oh, amazing.
I've actually, my girlfriend always, I'll tell her these stories and she's like, I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, but I'm worried for you. she's like, I don't want you to get fired.
Dude, well, you know, it's funny because, so like you said, because as a film, by the way, Matthew Rocca is a film teacher, as a film instructor, right?
Yeah.
Can you say specifically like the class name? Like, I mean, you don't have to say where you're or whatever, but you're whatever.
Well, I teach it. Yeah, I teach drama and film, and it's really fun because it's, you know, a low income first generation school, and the whole idea is kind of exposing them to, you know, the mission of the school is to get them into college, you know, and their first generation. And my mission within that mission is like expose them to great art and great film and you know, things that they've never thought of or never seen, and tell them and teach them how capable they are of being able to make movies. And you know, some of them really have got the bug already, which is so cool and amazing to see. Like right now we're doing a big production, and like they didn't know what like B movies were, you know, and I was teaching, because the whole thing is centered, it's kind of like a school appropriate version of Grindhouse, where it's like a double feature and trailers, and you know, it's supposed to be like look like a B movie, and we're gonna do a whole screening. And like there's some of them who just really got into it, and like they're becoming little directors, and
wow,
know, like wrote their script and directed, and they made their shot lists and everything. And you know, it's just so cool to see that, and for them to realize like there are paths out there that they can take, because a lot of them have never thought of that, you know, like that they could do that. They're just like, oh, it's just, you know, everyone watches movies, but it's just like celebrities who do that, you know. And it's like, no, like I tell them they're more capable than I ever was at their age of being able to pull it off, because as you and I know, we didn't have what the kids have these days, you know.
right. The kids these days. I know.
Damn cell phones, you know.
Yeah, right. The damn internets and stuff. Yeah, like, well, we had internet, but it wasn't quite what it is now. Like this phone can this phone, I mean, captures, dude, I can do 60 frames a second. I could do slow-mo. I could do you know, I can do a lot of cool stuff just on my phone, and the camera quality is amazing. I mean, and what you could do with post-production. I mean, even on your phone, even if you don't have a thing. I mean, we're preaching to the choir, to each other's choir, but no, that's great, dude. That's awesome, man. And actually, I'm excited for the future generation, because I think they're gonna make, you know, maybe not better movies than us. I don't know.
Well, that's a high bar.
Right. Yeah, such a very high bar, very high bar. You know, but I think it is like, you know, for them, they'll make movies that, you know, every kind of generation has their own style, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
Every filmmaker has their own style, and yeah, I'm interested to see, like, that'd be a lot of fun. I mean, I bet that's fun, and watching what they come up with, you know. And
it's so much fun, and it's so fun to, like, you know, like you said with the video store analogy, it's so much fun to sort of be like the curators of like, you know, appeal to what they like, but then, you know, hopefully also instill, you know, some finer taste and some love of like the classics and the directors that are the true auteurs. Actually, I did a lesson the other day where I had them study like the whole auteur theory, you know, and look at like famous directors. And then I actually clumped myself in there and had them study my work as an auteur. one student came up to me at the end of the class and he goes, "Mr. Rocca, I've learned something interesting about you." And I said, "Oh, really? What's that?" And he's like, "You have a very big ego." And I was just cracking up. I was like, "Kid," and he's only in 7th grade. I was like, what a perceptive little kid.
You're like, "No, I don't. I don't have a big ego. Screw you, little kid. I'm going to call your mother. You're going to go home. I'm going to expel you. I don't have an ego at all. You're a loser. Get out of my classroom."
The next day,
Don't ever speak to me that way. Do you know who I am? I'm the greatest.
you know who you're talking to. You'll never work in this town again, kid.
Yeah.
The very next day, the kid comes up to me and he goes, "Mr. Rocca, I've learned something else about you." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "You're like a box." And I was like a box? What do you mean? And he's like, "You're like a box. Everyone thinks they know what's inside, but they have no idea what's really inside of that box."
And you're like, "Yes, that's right, little boy. And you better pray to your mother that you never find out. You never find out."
Unless you want me to eat your liver with some papa beans.
Dude, that is so funny. Well, that would be like a compliment. That's a huge compliment, you know.
Yes,
it is
totally.
like it is. And that is interesting, you know, because at least to me, the teachers that I thought were like the coolest were the ones that were actually making things, that were actually doing stuff, that actually have done it before. You know, those are the ones I always respected the most. And
Like
they also happen to be the
college.
they also happen to be like the coolest teachers that I've had, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Shout out Wojtyla, shout out.
Yeah, shout out. You know, I never had Wojtyla, but
you never did, but
Nah.
what a guy, dude. And Durbin, of course.
and you know, I never had Durbin either. Never had
I know,
Durbin.
but it's
I
like
know,
like
I
the
know.
legend precedes him though, right?
Yeah. But I had Farnsley. I like
Oh man,
Alex
Farnsley. I never had Farnsley.
See,
but
you never had it. See, we had like kind of best of both worlds, I guess.
Yeah.
Or two
Because
different worlds.
Farnsley, yeah, I've heard great things about Farnsley, and he lent us his 16mm camera to shoot the very first neighborhood watch teaser we did a couple years ago.
Oh, no way. Oh, okay. Wow. See, so
Such a
I
great
tell you how great he is. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, he's the man. Like, he took us out to pizza our last night of Hitchcock class. I took a Hitchcock class. I mean, how
I'm
cool.
so jealous.
Yeah, it was so cool. And actually, it was weird because I was almost like teaching the class at the time. Like, I was like,
You were already the Hitchcock aficionado.
yeah, I already was. Yeah, I mean, I've been watching them since I was like 7. So,
Oh man, yeah, dude. I know. Like, we talked about this Psycho when I was 9. You know, that changed my
Wow.
world, fucked me up in all the best ways. And like, you know, it does. I actually recently just rewatched the movie Rope. And
Oh yeah.
and just every time I watch, like whenever I'm thinking, oh, are you going a little too crazy doing this shot, this uncut take for that long? I go back to Rope. And I'm like, you can do it, you know?
Yeah. I think the one thing that's gonna tie into you getting away with a long take is really the writing and performing, right?
Yes.
So if it's a long take,
Yes.
you know, it all ties into the writing, performing of
Yes.
the characters, and so I
When
mean,
you watch Rope, it's like you're
when you watch
drawn
Rope,
into
yeah,
it.
you're right in
Yeah.
there, and it's so you know, the dialogue's so witty and so clever, and yeah, the takes are long. So by standard, it would be like boring, but it's not. You know, it's really not.
Yeah, which is it's crazy to. Well, I think we've talked about his shooting ratio before, right? When it's like a 4-to-1 shooting ratio.
No.
Like 4 takes to every one, you know. shot or whatever, like which is such a huge inspiration to me shooting this next one on film, because like you can, as you know, you can do a lot less takes. But not only that, but like the fact that Hitchcock would do that so that no one could fuck with his edit. So it'd be like you only have 4 takes and they're pretty much the same shot, you know what I mean? Like no one can come in and tell him to do something else, because like, no, it is what it is.
Well, and in addition, he never shot coverage. So by not being able to have any coverage of any of the scenes, you can only have those takes of that scene at that time, or how it's planned out. So what's interesting is like he was actually the editor before the movie was even shot, which is like
how it was going to cut together.
That is so mind blowing. You know, that is so mind blowing. I mean, that's but he's storyboard. I mean, like a lot of directors storyboard, and I did a little bit of storyboarding for my latest movie that I shot.
Yeah, do you do every shot too?
No, hell no.
Or just more like the action set piece, or like the bigger set pieces?
Yeah, the bigger ones, like more of like a previs type thing.
Yeah, that's what I did with Bullets, was more of that kind of stuff. With Neighborhood, I've gotten to every single one just because of the reason of like what we're talking about, with, you know, not letting anyone come in and try to change your, you know, having it edited in your head.
Well, but only that, you're also keeping
full control. You have no one else, you know, that you're dealing with, so you already know, and you don't, you know, you don't have any, you know what I mean, that's really cool.
Well, yeah, that's the best way. That's the only way to go. I mean, to me, there's only, because the thing is, like, it's like as soon as you have one other person in, unless it's like someone you can really vibe with, like my friend Mario and I are co-producing the Cat Town story, which is, we're gonna have a screening in Oakland in December, you guys. So that's really exciting. It's it's an hour long. Yeah, it's an hour long documentary. Like, it was both of our documentaries, and like. So co-produce, I guess, co-direct as well.
Wow.
So
that's amazing. And you're just fresh off the heels of shooting your most recent feature too, right? Like
well, what's interesting is that we shot Cat Town like most of it we shot last year. So we actually shot Cat Town first, then shot Simp, and then but then now we're like going through the edit with Cat Town. We just got the almost final edit today, and then we're getting Simp is getting edited as well as we speak. So dude, so that's what it's all about, man. I can't wait to show you. Well, I guess we went off a tangent. We were talking about Dexter. We're still recording. I guess here we can stop the recording, and maybe we could talk a little bit more if you got a little bit more time. So anyway, well, this has been the Dexter. This has been the Dexter season. What is it? It's the New Blood season.
New Blood. I guess it's like they call it season 1 of New Blood. It's
okay.
Like okay. It's just its own thing, you know, and it's like, which I think is cool. It's like it creates its own, you know, entity, which is interesting.
So if it's season 1 of New Blood, then that kind of gives me hope that there'll be multiple seasons, right?
That's what I was thinking too. I think that's really interesting. Yeah, man. I'm so excited to see where it goes from here, you know, like and I can't wait for Sunday. It feels like old times when the show was on. Like, I can't wait for Sunday again every week. Like, I can't wait to see what's next. And I guess that would be like our final, you know, unless you had something to throw in there too. I was just gonna say a final wrap-up question on my end was like, do you have predictions for?
Ooh, wow, that's a good question. Yeah, you know, I guess my prediction is that Harrison is a troubled kid, which I don't think that's much of a stretch or much of a crazy, you know, psychic prediction. But I don't know, you know, I have a feeling Harrison might have a little bit of Dexter in him. Maybe he has a little bit of a dark passenger in him. I don't know. Maybe that would be like kind of my only prediction. And I guess otherwise, I mean, I think, again, this isn't a prediction as well. I think we can at least expect a kill at the end of every episode. So, I think.
well, on that note, I'm really intrigued and excited to see the big bad in the show, and how that's going to tie things together, because we know there's the missing girls, and we know that there's Matt's dad, who is going to be introduced, I think, in the next one, you know, as like the big wealthy man in town who's upset that, you know, his son has been killed, right? And Matt says that about like he's gonna like rain down punishment on you or whatever, you know, like, and his dad is played by Clancy Brown, the voice of Lex Luthor from the Superman series, and he's been in like a ton of other things, but that's of course how I would know him, you know, but he's like in a lot of stuff, but he's so good at being a villain. I'm just like,
wow. You know what? Yeah, I don't want to hear anymore. No more spoilers. I know, you know, because I kind of went in cold because I saw the premiere and I didn't really do much more research other than that. I was like, okay, you know what? I've learned that like when it comes to trailers or spoilers before watching the movie, or the show, I typically just wait. I watch any little teaser thing and I get excited. I'm like, okay, no, I'll wait and watch it when it comes out.
I know.
And also even like reviews of it too. Like I try to not watch. I try to not, because again, look, I don't want to have people's influence over me. I didn't want to have any. I didn't watch any other reviews of it until I already kind of had my own opinion of it after watching it. So
that's always really difficult for me, because it's like I'm like an addict for reading reviews when it's about something I'm really like excited about. But it's the same thing you're talking about. I'm like, oh no, but I don't want that to influence my first viewing. And I can go back later and look at the reviews, but like I don't want to read too much. And I kind of like overdid it when it came to Joker. I like read too many reviews beforehand because I was so excited, and then I wish that I didn't, because some of them spoiled little things and stuff.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Is like, yeah, I went in cold with Joker and I loved it. That's a fun movie. But anyway, so yeah, I'm excited.
Another podcast.
Perhaps, yeah, we'll have to do another one on definitely on season 2 or episode 2. If you want, we could do another one next week.
I'm down. I'm down to talk about every episode. That'd be fun.
Okay, awesome, man. Well, wait till next week to hear about what we think in season 2. But thank you guys for tuning in. This is movie day. So I'm doing this movie review channel, and actually I want to just go all in with this movie and TV reviews.
Yeah.
So yeah, make it its own thing where we could talk about movies with filmmaker friends, and yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. Matthew, where can we find you?
We can find me on actually on my movie Instagram would be the best place to follow my work if you're intrigued. It's at Neighborhood Watch Movie on Instagram.
Okay, guys, follow that Instagram. We'll put it out there. New movie coming out, Neighborhood Watch Instagram. And yeah, you guys can follow me. You can find me anywhere and everywhere. Okay, thank you and good night.